Good evening. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Glad to have you join us. We begin in Rome, where delegates for the Métis and Inuit held a historic meeting with Pope Francis at the Vatican. APTN's Tina House is in Italy and has this report on the build-up to that meeting.
It's a historic day and years in the making, but finally, Métis leaders and residential school survivors from Canada are here in Rome, Italy, to tell their truth about what happened at residential schools to their people. Just like the First Nations and Inuit people, Métis children were also forcibly taken from their homes and put into residential schools, except in many cases, those Métis children were even more discriminated against because of their mixed race. But for Métis National President Cassidy Caron, today is about creating a new beginning and hopefully start to heal from what many say is a crime against humanity.
We spent some time last night with our delegation just meeting one last time before we go into the meeting, and had some really great conversations with our survivors who will be leading our meeting today. They will be front and center. Their voices will be elevated throughout this entire day, and so we're really looking forward to bringing our elders in there and really upholding them, taking care of them, and sharing the stories of the Métis Nation and the experiences of residential schools that our Métis children suffered. We really hope that the Pope listens and hears and acknowledges this pain today.
The day started with a ceremonial event with the Métis National Council as they showcased a pair of red moccasins that they will be presenting to the Pope, created by Métis delegate and artist Mitch Case. The gift was designed with the Pope's colors in the beading, along with the Métis Nation's colors. The red elk hide represent the red shoes that the Pope normally wears. He also created this one-of-a-kind beaded jacket for the Métis National Council president to wear to the meeting with Pope Francis. However, Case says he is a bit apprehensive of the meeting.
The church has a long way to walk before we could possibly forgive them for what they did. But if he is willing to walk with us, then we'll be willing to walk with him.
Today is the day that the church walks in reconciliation with Indigenous leaders and survivors as they hope to find some healing and justice from the many years of abuses suffered by so many children that were locked inside of these institutions, and I won't call them schools. Behind me here are some of the archbishops that have gathered, and also bishops from Canada that are joining Indigenous leaders today.
There seems to be a good spirit here, a good spirit of anticipation, and we'll just see how it all unfolds now. We're about to head off with some of the Métis members and some of the Inuit later this morning, and they'll have a chance to meet the Pope, and we'll see how that goes.
Is this your opportunity to also apologize to the people that went to residential school in your region?
We've done that. So, as you may know, in Canada, that's happened many, many times since the early 90s.
As Archbishop, are you willing to go further and not just say sorry, but actually launch investigations into the abuses done to Indigenous people in Alberta?
I'm happy to cooperate with anything, any process that will help people tell their story. That seems to be the key thing. So if there were ever an investigation launched, we'd cooperate, obviously.
And after a half-hour meeting with the Pope, the Métis delegation walked out of the Vatican. 85-year-old Angie Crier says the meeting was a long time coming, and she wanted the Pope to know that despite everything that happened, it didn't break her spirit.
We're stronger now, and we help each other, we support each other, and one thing we have now is our pride. They did not break us. We're still here, and we intend to live here forever. And we're going to help us work with us, which is a big drive for us. It's awesome.
The Inuit delegation chose not to participate in an interview for this story. Tina House, APTN National News, Rome.
Great work, Tina. We're going to have much more on these meetings with Pope Francis throughout the week. Well, we want to hear what you think about the trip to Rome by hundreds of Indigenous delegates. Worthwhile or not? What do you hope comes of it? We want to know your thoughts. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Well, while those Indigenous delegates meet with Pope Francis in Rome, non-Indigenous students in Calgary are calling for their school's name to be changed as an act of reconciliation. The Students and Reconciliation Action Group gathered at Sir John A. Macdonald's School to put up banners and chalk sidewalks asking for a name change. 13-year-old McKenna Halverson is behind the movement. She says a new name is needed due to McDonald's involvement in the Chinese head tax and the residential school system.
I thought about all the Indigenous and Chinese people and Black students who come to our school and are reminded of what he did every single day. This kind of unites us, and it's like our act of reconciliation.
In Nunavut, 1/3 of government-owned buildings aren't insured for fire, and the arson rate is 10 times the national average. That's why what happened this weekend in Joe Haven, Nunavut, could affect the community for some time. Joe Haven is a community of just over 1,300 people in Nunavut's western Katikniut region. It's probably best known for being the community closest to where the HMS Terror and Erebus Rex from the Franklin expedition were located. This was the scene Saturday as the government of Nunavut's office buildings in the community burned for nearly 8 hours. The fire is under investigation and nobody was injured in the blaze. Well, Bill S3 was supposed to correct sex-based inequalities in the Indian Act, mainly caused by women marrying non-status men. In 2019, amendments to the bill meant that everyone eligible could apply for status. However, a Senate committee heard Monday that less than 5% of those considered eligible have registered. Witnesses told the committee that the government has done nothing to inform the public of the changes. And associate producer Pam Palmater says those who've applied have been caught up in endless bureaucratic red tape.
The remedy that was intended by Bill S3 is being withheld to thousands of First Nation women and children through Canada's ongoing failure to register them. There's only a small number, 250,000 to 400,000 of registrants newly entitled, but it's taking sometimes over 2 years to get registered. Yet there's over 4 million passports processed every year, and the service standard can be as little as 10 days.
We need to take a break, but still ahead, we're going to take you on a syrup harvest in southern Ontario. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's that time of year again when the sap from the maple trees run and it's time to harvest that sweet water. APTN's Annette Francis met a group of harvesters in the Kitchener, Ontario area to talk to them about the harvest and the land back deal that made it all possible. Here's that story.
But this is our evaporator. And,
for 5 springs now, this 10-acre property has been providing maple syrup. The land is owned and protected by the White Owl Native Ancestry Association in Kitchener, Ontario. Dave Skeen says it's come a long way.
The first year, 5 seasons ago, I came out with 5 buckets, had no idea what I was doing. Came out here in the spring, got out here, kind of started looking up into the trees saying, how do I know it's a maple tree?
This unique little place was part of a land back deal with the Emmanuel United Church in Waterloo, Ontario. Arthur Hills remembers how it all came together in 2017.
We manufactured a bill of sale for $1 for the material. The lawyers approved it, and we transferred the property to White Owl.
Hills says the church bought the property over 50 years ago, but because of an endangered salamander on the property, the church wasn't able to build. So it was looking to get rid of it. He's pleased with the decision.
We live in an area within 10 kilometers on either side of the Grand River, which was deeded to the natives. And this is our small way of giving back some of that property to this association.
Skeen says it was a significant deal.
So most of the time we use the land for the sugar bush in the spring. And so we're out here for maybe 2.5 months all total. And then the other part It's like we're learning. We don't know a lot about the salamander, the Jefferson salamander, but we're starting to learn about the Jefferson salamander. And because it's protected and because of our, Indigenous ethics around the land, we want to protect the salamander as one of our relatives.
White Owl also has a contract with the Board of Education. This year, they're teaching 3 classes a day about maple syrup. It's a great place for land-based learning. That's the reason Stephanie Maneely made the trek all the way from Fort McMurray, Alberta, where she works with an association called Youth with a Mission.
It has been an incredible experience for us to be out here. We don't have maple trees where we're from, and so being able to be invited out here by Dave and their crew and to be able to come and hang out and learn what it means to tap the trees and process the syrup, and it's been way more than that, like hanging out and working together and laughing and having fun.
The sap is expected to run for at least another few weeks. By then, they should have produced about 180 litres, which will eventually be donated to local Indigenous families. Annette Francis, APTN National News, at the White Owl Sugar Bush near Kitchener.
I love that. Thanks for that, Annette. Well, many advocates say that one of the keys to a better justice system for Indigenous people is more representation on the bench, and the Manitoba government responded to that last week, appointing a Pasquayack Cree Nation lawyer Vincent Sinclair to the provincial court bench in Thompson, Manitoba. I had the chance to speak with Judge Sinclair after the announcement last week. Judge Sinclair, you've been in the justice system as a lawyer since 2010. Has there been any change, any movement in the justice system for Indigenous people in the decade plus that you've been in the system?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. With my appointment, I really want to focus on the fact that at least with my experience, my background as an Indigenous person, lived on reserve, worked for a First Nation in Pasquayack for years, been involved with provincial governments and local governments and the Law Society. I'm very happy to have been appointed. I can't specifically comment about the question you specifically asked, but I think it's great that I finally been appointed. It wasn't something that I initially strove for, but with the appointments, it's an exciting time for me, to get into a new job, a new field, new area, and
We're
basically
certainly
grow.
Excited for you. And perhaps, the overrepresentation of Indigenous people in the courts, maybe it'll be on the other side of things, as prosecutors, as defense lawyers, as judges, maybe we'll see that coming up in the near future. I'm curious, you spoke of, coming from the reserve. How do you take your experience as an Indigenous person and bring it to the white man's justice system?
Yeah, well, with my background, I lived on Ocean when I was younger. We lived in the town of the Paw. All my friends were from Ocean. I worked for Ocean. I was on chief and counsel. Even as a prosecutor, dealing with people from Ocean, obviously that I wasn't related to, but people that I knew were from Ocean that came through the system. My job as a prosecutor was to be fair and try to help people. We know the background, the impacts of residential school and other displacements that First Nations experience. It's led to basically, as you stated, the heavy involvement of Indigenous people in the justice system. But with what I'm hoping to bring for myself is being empathetic and understanding where people are coming from, how it's affected them. I'm a intergenerational residential school survivor. My mother went to residential school. So the impacts on her have affected me, but in different ways. I never became involved in the justice system in that way. But I was fortunate enough to go down a different path that unfortunately, Indigenous people face or, have less options and end up becoming involved in crime for whatever reason. And I understand that, and I can appreciate where people are coming from and understanding and lending an empathetic ear to when people come before the court and explaining why they're behaving the way they're behaving. So I'm hoping, and I'd like to think, that's what I'm going to be bringing to the judiciary.
Well, we are so thankful that you could join us today, and congratulations on this appointment. This is huge, and we look forward to seeing how this next chapter of your career unfolds on the other side of the bench.
Yes, thank you.
It was great talking to him last week. Well, it's time for one more break, but still ahead, hockey teams doing their part to reconcile. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. This was sent in by Esme Mackey. It is a beautifully captured image of the rising sun over Hamilton Beach. Be sure to include as many details as possible about the picture that you submit to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting off on the east coast, we got -1 in snow for Fredericton, 5 in snow for Charlottetown. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, 4 with a chance of flurries, 0 with a mix of sun and cloud in Kuujjuaq, 0 and snow in Gas Bay, Montreal, cloud and 7 degrees, 6 and cloudy in Ottawa, 1 and sunny in North Bay, Kapuskasing -10 and snow, Big Trout Lake, snow for you too, -16, sunshine for Puckatawagan and -16, -10 and sunny in the Paw, -11 and sunshine for Winnipeg, -2 and snow for Dauphin. Sunny and 6 degrees for Swift Current, -7 and sunny for Yorkton. 1 and sunshine for Buffalo Narrows, -1 and sunshine for Stony Rapids. Snow for northern Alberta, -7 and high level, -4 in Fort McMurray. -2 and snow for Edmonton, 10 and sunshine for Calgary. Kamloops, 17 and sunny skies, Bella Coola, 14 and sunny. 5 and sunshine for Fort Nelson, mixed sun and cloud, 9 degrees for Smithers. 2 in sunshine for Beaver Creek, 5 in snow for Dawson City. Fort Simpson, -2 and snow, Wauti, -11, snow there. Sunshine for Fort McPherson, -22, -24 and sunny for Tuktoyaktuk. Baker Lake, -18 and sunny skies, New Yacht, snow, -14. -14 for Igloolik, but sunny there, and same with Clyde River. That is your Indigenous news from around the country and Italy to kick off this week. As mentioned, we are with the delegation in Rome, and we'll bring you all the latest from there this week. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you tonight with some of the sights and sounds from Rome, where that Indigenous delegation is meeting with the Pope and Catholic Church officials. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.